Hello and welcome to Lose Weight, Feel Great. I'm your host, Joanna Peterson, and I'm thrilled to have with us today Dr. Doug Graham. Hello, Dr. Doug Graham.
Hey, Joanna, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Dr. Doug Graham is an author, a health educator, a lifetime athlete. You have written several books, right?
Yes, quite a few.
I know you wrote the book, The 80-10-10, and I saw online some amazing testimonials. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, and how did you come up with the 80-10-10?
There's a lot of stories revolve around that, and I'll be concise. Well, one of the things was that I took every nutrition course offered going through college. I took every nutrition course offered going through my medical training. Mm-hmm. I was fascinated with nutrition and continued to study after school. And the gist of that, basically, was to get away from micromanaging nutrition from nutrients, and rather to teach nutrition in terms of food and food groups. It turns out, as everyone knows, that the two food groups that are recommended above all others are fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. Those are considered health foods. Fruits and vegetables. Pretty much you'll hear anybody tell you, eat more fruits and vegetables, or you've got to eat your vegetables, or fruit and energy, or whatever they relate it to. There are very few diets in the entire world of diet where we intentionally eliminate all fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. Fruits and vegetables are good for you, and I've heard this since I was a kid. So as my own personal diet changed, I experimented a lot with my diet over the years, and ever so slowly went from a traditional diet to a more what was considered health food diet, and then eventually tried what was called orthomolecular, and then eventually macrobiotic, and then finally became a vegetarian. And this was years are going by, and from vegetarian I went to vegan, and from vegan kind of snowballed right into a raw food diet. And by the time I got to a raw food diet, philosophically it made sense that every creature on the planet eats raw food, and we're a creature on this planet, we should eat raw food too. Some people say, and other people say, vegans are 1% of the vegetarian population, which is only 5%. But vegans are a minute portion of the population, but they're a huge portion of the top professional athletes in every kind of sport. And this is sort of odd, and you have to look at why, because that's a high level of performance that's being demanded. But I'm thinking fruits and vegetables are good for me. I'm eating raw foods. Eventually I started asking myself the question, what would happen if I ate raw foods to the exclusion of everything else? And then what would happen if I ate fruits and vegetables to the exclusion of everything else? And most of the people I asked said, oh, that would be very bad, which pretty much told me I was onto something, because it only makes sense if that's the best food for you, eating more of it. Why would I eat things, why would I eat things that were self-destructive when I could eat foods that are self-constructive? Yeah. It turns out it wasn't that easy to do it. There was a lot of my own mental baggage, and shifting diet sometimes requires a bit of willpower. And once again, I couldn't just say, okay, I'm just going to eat this or I'm going to eat that. I had to say, what do I want? Mm-hmm. What's the road to get there? How do I get vibrant health? Well, one of the ways I get vibrant health is to get enough sleep, or to be physically active, to be positive in my thought processes, to gain some emotional control, at least some, mm-hmm. and continue to develop myself as a person, and to eat fruits and vegetables. Oh, raw foods make sense in my philosophy. So I said, okay, if that's the outcome I want, then I have to go down that road, at least for a while. Mm-hmm. It turns out that it was very easy, because rewards just started coming left, right, and center. I could think more clearly. I could remember things my learning improved so much. I felt like my eyes had opened for the very first time. All my allergies went away.
How long did it take you to transition from cooked food, vegan cooked food, basically, into a raw food diet?
Successfully or philosophically?
Both.
Well, philosophically, it happened in an instant.
Uh-huh.
Although I said, no, I don't want to go. I kind of resisted. I planted my heels, as it were. But philosophically, it happened in a flash. It was just like, once it's obvious, it's obvious. And then once you know, you know. And there's no way to unknow. Then I had to live with the fact. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like dangling a carrot out in front of yourself. Uh-huh. You put that goal out there, and then you start striving to reach. And so, to answer your question, how long did it take? 7 years, maybe.
Okay.
Of trying something, and it would almost work for a while. It seemed like, and then not, and then trying something. And basically, the answer was, what I was trying was first I tried to just eat all raw, and I would keep going back to cook food. Then I said, you know what, I'm gonna eat fruit for breakfast every single day. It's always going to be fruit. And then lunch and dinner will be raw, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then I'd always find myself going back to cook food after a couple of days or weeks or even months. And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna eat fruit for breakfast, and I'm gonna eat fruit for lunch. And then I'm gonna have a big salad at dinner time. And that worked better, and I would usually get months. Almost every time I'd get months before I'd finally end up back eating cooked. So I went back to my basics of nutrition and looked at what was being recommended by, the best. And everybody says you need to eat a certain amount of carbohydrates in order to have enough fuel available for your muscles. Mm-hmm. You need to have enough carbohydrates to recover from exercise. You need to have X amount of fat, X amount of protein. Yeah. And if you have more than that, you'll have a problem. It's almost impossible to get less than that. So really the problem is when you have more than that, because A, it's hard on your kidneys, and B, you won't get enough carbohydrates. So I go, oh, interesting. And I evaluated my diet, and really what I was doing was I wasn't giving myself enough carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates in my diet come from fruit. Mm-hmm. And so I started eating fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, all the fruit I wanted before my dinner meal, and then a big salad. Mm-hmm. And I never looked back. That was more than 30 years ago, and I just haven't looked back.
Okay. So a lot of people are concerned, especially when you're an athlete and you're working out. So how do I get my protein?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And the answer is twofold, basically. One is that when you cook your proteins, you make them unavailable to yourself, unavailable, inaccessible. You do what's create enzyme-resistant bonds. It's a cross-link of the protein. So if this is your protein and then you cook it, and then it cross-links. And cross-link proteins are not only enzyme-resistant, meaning we don't have the enzymes to break them down, but then the body attacks those as if they're foreign invaders. They're foreign proteins. And so you don't get the protein, but then your body has to work to fight off the protein. Whereas raw proteins are easily broken down. We have the enzymes that are called proteases to break them down. And so we can access them far more easily. Hence, mother's milk is only 6% protein, but babies grow faster than any other humans on just eating 6% of their calories from protein. So getting the protein really is a matter of not cooking the protein. Turns out that all foods have protein. That proteins are part of the building blocks of life. And so watermelon and apples and bananas have protein, but only 4 to 6% of their calories. And vegetables have protein, but it's usually in the teens, how much protein as a percentage of their total calories. If you eat a diet of fruits and vegetables, you'll end up getting 7 or 8 or 9% of your calories from protein. And if you add in a little bit of nuts and seeds, you can boost that up into the low teens.
Mhm.
It's more than enough. There isn't even a medical name for insufficient protein in the diet. That there is no condition that happens from insufficient protein. It's not possible if you're eating food. If the only thing you're having is sugar and oil, well, then you wouldn't get any protein. But I don't really know of anybody who's trying to live on sugar and oil.
Can you tell us a little bit about grains and how they affect the gut?
The term is called dysbiosis,
Uh-huh.
DYS meaning bad or painful or uncomfortable or wrong. Dysbiosis happens in the gut. Uh, there's a lot of problems with grain, so it really depends on where you want to start. There's problems with monoculture in the first place because in nature there are no monocultures. So to cut down the forests and fill in all the swamps and cut out all the wildlife and kill all the birds in order to grow grain, um, we have to understand that 90% of the grain grown in the world is grown for livestock to eat it.
Mhm.
So even when we think, oh, people need to eat this grain, really that's not the case. And almost 90% is grown to feed livestock.
Mhm.
So we want to start with that concept. Like, first of all, we could cut our grain growth down by 90%, and there'd be enough for people. The second thing is, if you're vegan or vegetarian aware at all, you might not recognize that when a farmer buys grain, he might buy 100 pounds for $1. But when you buy a loaf of bread, you might pay $3 or $4 for a pound of bread. You're paying 300 to 400 times as much
Mhm.
as the farmer is for the same pound of wheat, meaning you are subsidizing the farmer to raise those animals on cheap food. Essentially, every time you eat grains, you're supporting the livestock industry, which might only mean something to the people who don't eat livestock. For the people who do, fine. What I found was that every single time I ate insufficient fruit, I was driven to eat grains. I have a friend who did some research on grains, and one of the things he found out was that grains contain chemicals that are called opioids.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
opioids are like opium.
Mhm.
They dumb you down, they numb you. I mean, if you have problems and you don't want to know about it, eat enough starchy food
Yeah.
and you'll just stop thinking about it because you go numb. We see a lot of comfort foods that are grain based. If you don't eat enough fruit, you'll be driven towards starchy foods. But it turns out that we don't have, if you just take some starch and put it in your mouth, you can't digest it. We don't have the enzymes to break down starch. Uh, if you eat unripe fruit, which is mostly starch, you find that it's highly objectionable because we don't have the enzymes to break it down. So there's a lot of reasons not to eat grains. Are they better than eating meat? Well, in a good, better, best world, fruit is our best option.
Mhm.
But we also need to eat our vegetables. So fruits and vegetables become our best option. That's the best fit. It's kind of like buying a pair of shoes. Bigger isn't better. In the world of nutrition, a lot of people think more is better, but more isn't better. The absolute most nutrients in a certain food doesn't make it the best for us.
Mhm.
And typically, if something has a lot of one nutrient, it has very little of some other nutrient.
Mhm.
Overall, fruits and vegetables meet our nutritional needs more closely than any other food source. So I just encourage people to eat fruits and vegetables. Uh, it's a pretty straightforward concept.
Is there anything specific you would tell the audience on what can they implement in their lives every day just to feel better, lose weight naturally, have more
Well,
energy?
the cool thing about weight control is that on every study of every diet ever done, the only thing that's ever been shown to work is called LCD, which stands for low caloric density. It's got to do with how many calories per bite of food. The lowest caloric density foods are vegetables, and the second lowest are fruits. So if you eat more fruits and vegetables, the more fruits and vegetables you eat, if you have weight to lose, you're likely to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the more weight you'll lose. The faster you'll lose it. You'll come down to what's called a normal, biologically appropriate. And to me, this is not only a reward. I find fruits to be dessert every time. And vegetables, I really like vegetables. Some people don't. You have to kind of develop a way of enjoying them. But if they're going to take you where you want to go, oh, the road to losing weight, eat more fruits and vegetables. I think it's the coolest message in the world. How do you lose weight? Eat more
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables. Not only more fruits and vegetables, but more volume of fruits and vegetables. For people who are overweight, they tend to like to eat some volume. If you want to eat volume, eat more vegetables. You could eat mountains of it.
Plus,
In fact,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Plus, they naturally detoxify. You get more fiber. Your bowels are moving. So
It's rewarding from beginning to end. Yes.
yeah. So, what kind of fruits do you usually recommend if you're eating them, especially first thing in the morning?
Well, I like to use juicier fruits in the morning. I want to get moisture. You know, you're losing water all night when you breathe, and you want to get rehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Juicy fruits, melons, citrus, berries, things of that sort are really, really rewarding in the morning. They're fresh. They're eye-opening, and a lot of people really enjoy melon in the morning. I like a rich meal in my midday meal. I'm almost always going to have bananas, but when it's mango season, I'll have mangoes, and persimmon season, I'll have persimmon. And but bananas are the go-to guy, and they're the fallback, the default fruit. They're readily available to everyone. They're inexpensive, and they're a reliable carbohydrate hit. So you can eat however many bananas it takes, and it's different for each person. But you can say, oh, if I eat this many bananas for a meal, I know I'm not going to be hungry again for 5 hours, and that's kind of a nice. You can be reliable that way, and then you can make it all the way to your dinner meal. The trick with dinner is to start with some fruit, though. Have some fruit before you start, and then get into your vegetables. I mean, at the end of all that, if you still want to eat something else, you probably didn't have enough fruits and vegetables. But if the goal is lose weight, that's the ticket. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Go with whatever's in season. Go with what's ripe. Go with what looks good. Eat, there's so many colors and textures and flavors to choose from. Go with what really appeals to you.
And for people who can't really digest the raw foods in the beginning, they can steam them lightly, not to kill them, but just lightly.
I would say that if there are people who can't very well digest raw vegetables well,
Right.
because you have to have enzymes to do that, that we all have, but then you also have to have microbes to do that we don't all have. The way to develop those microbes is to eat raw vegetables. You have to provide the fodder for the microbes to develop. This takes most people somewhere between 3 and 7 days. In a matter of 3 or so, by eating the cooked vegetables, you slow the process down a lot, but it is possible it could happen. Really, the way to make it happen is go through a couple of days of raw food, including raw vegetables, and you will develop the microbes in your gut that let you eat all the raw vegetables. Nobody has trouble digesting raw fruit, though. It's really just a matter of those vegetables. In which case, what I'll suggest is eat the most tender vegetables. Eat the celery, the lettuce, the cucumbers, the tomatoes, the things that are the tenders, even spinach, the mache, the lamb's lettuce, things that are really tender. It's not that we have to eat tough vegetables at all. I almost never eat tough vegetables.
Thank you so much, Dr. Graham. You're a wealth of knowledge. I so appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge and what you're doing for all the people out there. And for the audience, please check out Dr. Graham's books. They can transform people's lives, and they can reach out to you, right? You have an email.
Yeah, I'm easy to reach. If you go to my website, Food and Sport, it's the word food, the letter N, like Nancy, and then the words food, sport, foodandsport.com. We have tons and tons of free information on the website. I mean, just massive amount of free information. I also run a free forum every day that I monitor. It's called the 80-10-10 Forum, the 80-10-10forum.com, and that's free. We try to make as much available as humanly possible. I remain very accessible. I've always appreciated people in my life who were accessible to me, and I've tried in my own way to also be an accessible professional.
Hmm. Well, I'm pretty sure you'll be around for another 100 years.
Ah, bless. That would be very nice. I'd like that a lot. I enjoy being useful. I enjoy being productive. Uh, and I still enjoy setting personal bests in sports, so I'm having a good time with that. Uh, I want people to visit, come visit and say hello, and we offer a free gift for the people who are interested. We'll offer a weight loss video that I call a Key Talk. Key is an acronym for Knowledge Empowers You. So I have a Key Talk on weight loss that I'm happy to offer to anyone who wishes to download it.
Yep, we'll have the link right below, and everyone can download it. Thank you
So
so much for the
it's
free
my
gift.
pleasure. Thank you, Joanna. I wish you every success, and thank you for helping people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.